So to introduce myself, my name is Didier. I'm the software sales advisor at Better Impact. I'll be taking you through the demo today with the clients and giving you a better idea. So just a little background about myself. I've been working over 10 years in technology, helping others and advising organizations on their digital platform. I've spent the last year advising a diverse range of organizations on how to make the best of Better Impact, managing change for volunteer management system, and of course, utilizing the client impact module that we'll be looking at today. So if everyone could please put their name and organization in the chat box. Awesome, thanks, Jenny. We've got Jenny from Gateway Support Services in Geelong. I'm also in Geelong, Jenny. Got Lisa from Visitor Information Centre in North Queensland. Got a diverse group at the moment, which is awesome. Hey, Sue, thanks for coming. Another one from Queensland. We've got Lynette that's coming in as well. Awesome. So thanks, everyone, for putting that into the chat. As you can see, we've got a nice, diverse range of people who are interested in the client impact module here. So some takeaways. Basically, we'll be looking at some common problems facing programs that match clients to volunteers. We'll have a quick program assessment. So basically, I'll be asking a couple of questions that you'll answer in the chat, just about how you're managing your volunteers and your clients, and some improvements as well. We'll be talking about why the right software tools matter. I'll be giving a high-level overview of volunteer impact and client impact and how they integrate together. And then there'll be a couple of resources and a link to obtain your PDU certificate for attending today. So that will be provided to you in a link at the end of the webinar. So stick around for that and I'll provide you that link. So some types of volunteer programs that commonly engage one-on-one with clients. You've obviously got your hospices, your patient care, social services, tutors, mentor, ESL programs, pet therapy, therapeutic horse riding centres, crisis helplines, immigration, refugee services. So if you're not on the list there, you still can utilise client impact. It has a wide range of use cases. Most of the time, it is a single client that is connecting to a volunteer, and that activity is connected, which I'll show you later in the demo. In some cases, which are pretty rare, but it can happen, the client can actually be a location or organisation. A few different organisations will use the system that way. It can really be configured for how you need it, and getting the best out of that as well. So obviously common problems, volunteer and client data managed in multiple disconnected systems. So we've heard a lot of people using, 3 or 4 different databases to manage that data. The best part of our system is we are end-to-end software management system. So we aim to do everything all in one. So you're not using those 3 or 4 different platforms and making things harder for everyone in the organization. Unsecure methods of volunteer reporting on client interactions. That can be, using Excel, using things that don't properly record or don't properly report on your data. Obviously, too much data entry. That's something that's obviously time consuming and can take you away from things like one-on-one management with your clients and your volunteers. Not enough time to lead and engage volunteers and clients. Obviously, that can be a problem if you're spending too much time on multiple different platforms and you're using all your time on not engaging, but using platforms. So obviously, that's very vital to kind of open up your time so you can be engaging. And of course, a tight budget as well. So we do understand everybody has budgets. People have grants and things like that they have to work towards. So we're obviously very understanding of the industry, and we make things work in that way as well. So now the solution. So volunteer impacts and client impacts, they have a direct integration with each other. So they're on the same platform, they're on the same database. They work really well together. As you can see by this little graphic here, they can be used on a computer, a desktop, obviously, an iPad, or a mobile phone as well. So the platform is designed to work well on all three, and everyone might have a mix of all of those in the industry and in your organization. So we're all in one solution for managing your client serving volunteer programs. Now, one easy way to evaluate your volunteer management and client management services is looking for the ISO certification. So the ISO 27001 is the world best known standard for information security management systems. ISO certifications mean that the volunteer management vendor respects all the best practices and principles enshrined in the international standard. Having the actual certificate rather than simply following the guidelines is an important distinction, because it means the vendor has been audited by an independent body once a year to make sure the standards are being met. So obviously we are ISO certified. It is the highest standard of certification at the moment. And that is one thing to look out for when you are reviewing volunteer management systems and client management systems as well. Now to the questions. If you can, we'll be using the chat again, just to interact with everyone. So question number 1 is, which problem resonated with you the most from the last slide? So number 1 is managing data in multiple disconnected systems. If you answer number 2, it's unsecure methods of volunteers reporting on client interactions. Number 3 is too much data entry. Number 4, not enough time to lead and engage with your volunteers. And number 5 is a tight budget. So if you could just put a number in the chat, please. You can put multiple if you do have multiple issues. And then I'll read those out so everyone can get an idea of the problems we have there. So Lisa is 1 and 4. So multiple, managing data in multiple systems and disconnected, and not enough time to lead and engage. Sue's also number 4. Not enough time to lead and engage with volunteers. Kyla's number 1 and 3, managing data in multiple disconnected systems and too much data entry. And Jenny is number 1 and 2, disconnected systems and unsecure methods of volunteer reporting. So thanks for answering those questions. As you can see, quite a range of issues at the moment with relevant problems in the organization. A few of you had common issues as well. Number 1 and 4 were the most common: multiple disconnected systems and not enough time to lead. So that's something that obviously could interact with each other and be causing that issue. And of course, we hope that Better Impact can help with those problems. And obviously, as an all-in-one platform, free up some time so you can engage with those volunteers. Now, question number 2. This is a simple one. Basically, how are you managing your volunteers currently? Number 1 would be spreadsheets, Excel, sheets, anything like that. That would be number 1. Number 2 is a volunteer management system. And number 3 is other. So if you could please answer with a number in the chat there. So Jenny is using other. Sue using spreadsheets. Kyla is using other as well. Ona is using spreadsheets and other, which would be quite difficult to to manage all your data. And Lisa using number 3 as well. That's quite interesting that majority are using other. Now, if you can, just so everyone gets an idea, if you could describe what that other system is, it can be a very brief description, just so everyone gets a little bit of an idea of what that system is. It can be one or two words. If it's Salesforce or something similar to that, if you could please put that in the chat, just so we have an idea what other is. So Cola has a out-of-date, clunky access database. We do see that quite often. Sometimes it may be some custom software that's been created by someone in the organization, or another older database used for another purpose that volunteer and client information has been used for. Jenny's using a care link database, more for clients and staff, not so much for volunteers. So that would obviously make the connection a little bit more difficult between volunteers and clients, as it doesn't seem like it has that direct integration, which Better Impact has. So thanks to those two clarifying those other databases they're using, gives us a little bit more information. So question number 3, how are you managing your clients currently? So obviously, Jenny, you're using other, the CareLink database for your clients. What are others using to managing your clients? And it'd be interesting to see if that is the same as your volunteers as well. So Kyle is using the same. So other, again, for the clients, Iona as well, number 3. That's quite interesting to see, because we do often see a lot of organizations using pieces of software that aren't suited for clients or aren't suited for volunteers as well. So obviously that makes managing your data a lot more difficult. That must be quite difficult, honestly, using the volunteers and your client data in the spreadsheets. I've seen a lot of spreadsheets that have been used in the past before using Better Impact, which is obviously a lot of data everywhere and very messy and unsecure as well. There is the opportunity to import your spreadsheet data into Better Impact. So that is an option with your volunteer or with your client information. When you do start with us, basically we can do a data import to save you the time from manually entering the information, or getting the volunteers or the clients to do that as well. Awesome. So thanks everyone for answering those questions. We've got one more question and then we can move on from that. So question 4, in your opinion, what's most at risk if a change doesn't occur sooner than later? So is it number 1, volunteer turnover and disengagement? Number 2, client turnover, disengagement. Number 3, staff turnover and disengagement. Number 4, wasted money or wasted budget. Number 5, damage to organization or program reputation. And number 6, other. So it can be multiple, but if you could please answer in the chat box with a number, what's most at risk if a change doesn't occur, then we can get an idea for everyone what that risk is. So Sue is number 1 and 5, so volunteer turnover and damage to reputation. That is quite a common fear for certain organizations if a change doesn't occur. Iona is the same, 1 and 5. That's quite interesting that 2 people have the same fear if a change doesn't occur. Jenny is number 1, 4, and 6. So turnover, disengagement, wasted budget, and other. Kyla, number 1 and 4, the volunteer turnover, disengagement, and wasted money or budget. And Lisa, 1 and 6, volunteer turnover and other being communication and record keeping. So that's a really good insight into everyone's fear in what potentially could happen if a change doesn't occur. Very interesting that number 1 is a fear for everyone. What's most at risk is volunteer turnover, disengagement. Everyone would be in a very similar situation. Obviously, we really appreciate volunteers and their time in the organisation, and everyone does see that as a risk, the volunteer turnover, disengagement. Obviously, that is a really big point. That's a really big part of our organisation. We make things easy for the volunteer. The system is built for them to use on their phones, on their computer or iPad. Very interesting to see that everybody does see that as a risk if change doesn't occur. So hopefully I can show you in this webinar what we can do to help you with that risk and what you can do to overcome that. Thanks everyone for answering those questions. Really good to get that insight, and I can kind of show you a few things in the demo to overcome some of those things as well. Now, this is a really interesting stat. Stat comes from the G2's 2019 State of Software Happiness Report. Obviously, being provided the right tools to perform the job plays into our level of job satisfaction. When the right tools are not in place, our level of efficiency and effectiveness decreases. This is one factor that can contribute to our unhappiness in the role. So that's quite an alarming stat. More than half employees are unhappy at work because of the software tools they're using. So obviously that is something that can be improved if you do have the right software, and hopefully we will show you that better impact is that right software for you. Just to add to that stat as well, about 1 in 8 employees has quit a job because of mismatched software. So that's quite a high number. And obviously that is a bit of frustration of people leaving a job. That might be using too many systems in one, or that might be using the wrong software for the wrong purpose. So the fact that this is a cited reason for people leaving a job speaks to just how important it is to outfit employees with the right tools for the job. Obviously, turnover is disruptive to progress and goal attainment. So let's get you and your team working with tools that make you feel less frustrated and rather more empowered and productive when you do the job. So we want to improve that within the system with your employees, but also with your volunteers and with your clients to make that easy for you as well. Perfect. I'm just going to go into the demo now. So this will be showing you the software. Perfect. So this is the administrator's view of the software. Now, within our software, we do have an unlimited amount of administrators. So you can have as many people in the software using this part of the administration view. This is the home page here. We make things a little bit easier to navigate. Basically, you've got your numbers at the front here, and you might notice that you've got your volunteers, you've also got your clients, and you've also got your administrators. So everything's all integrated in one. You can see everything all in one. And with your front page as well, you've got your favorites, you've got your pin searches, you've got your status updates. So it's got birthdays, anniversaries, and then also it shows you expiring qualifications, custom field approvals, hours approvals. So a number of alerts to make this system easier to navigate, but also easier to track important information in the system. So specific to your volunteers and clients, what we've got is connections. So this part basically connects your volunteers and clients. As you can see, you can have multiple connections. So you can have a volunteer that has multiple clients, and you can see that list at any time as well. So you can do the other way. You can also do your clients and volunteers. As you can see, it can be multiple, but either way, you can connect those. In the system as well, we have an unlimited amount of clients in the system. So you can have as many clients as you need. We have a few organizations that have over 1,000 clients in the system that they use, and they connect those clients using these connection tools in the system here. So as well as connecting, what we've got is also client encounters. So this is basically where volunteers will be logging their encounters with clients. And obviously they can only log those that they're connected to. So I'll just go on one encounter here. This is a visit with the client, Charlie Canterbury. And as you can see, there's some details in here as well. So these details or these fields can be customized by the administrators in the system. So that means you can basically ask any questions you like about those visits. So as you can see, there's things like assignment type, patient appearance. You can add times, you can add drop downs, a big range of things you can add. And all that information obviously can be used for reporting. So we always say to our clients or to the organizations that have the end in mind. So basically have your reporting in mind when you're setting up the system. So these questions you'll be asking your volunteers, they'll be something that you need to report on in the future, and you'll have all that data all in one here. So as you can see, it's all in one place, all the client encounters. You can obviously filter this down, and you can change, reject, or delete any of the information individually or in bulk as well. Now we've got a couple of tabs at the top here that I'll show you. With our communication, we've got email and text message that can be used and filtered. So one example of this is if we want to filter down those who are connected to a client, I can add a search criteria. Basically, you can see there's a number of different fields that you can select. That includes fields that you have created yourself as well. So I want to see a client that is associated with volunteers. So I can search for all those volunteers in the system. I can see that 6 people are connected to clients, and then I can communicate with those selected people. So you can have templates. It might be something like missing a photo release form, interested in a specific activity. Once you select that template, that code there is going to be the name of the volunteer here. You can obviously attach certain things as well. And then you can send that email out or text message to the selected volunteers. Now you can also communicate with the clients in the system as well. If they have a email or phone number connected in the system, you can send that directly from here. And other ways you can communicate information. You can basically select what the volunteer will see of that client info, and only that volunteer will see that as well. Now, with the rostering tool we have, we've got a number of different ways this can be used. This is color coded, so basically you can see The red is the vacant shifts, the blue is the confirmed. So we can see a number of shifts need to be confirmed already. You can click on that and see what needs to be assigned. And we've got here, visit with Katie Smith. That is a example of a activity that has a client attached. You can go into the filtering system. You can tick a few things if they're qualified, if they have overlapping assignments, and then you can search for volunteers in the system and then assign them to that activity as well. So a number of ways this can be used. Basically, you can get the volunteers to sign up for their shifts. You can get them to express interest so that then an admin confirms that shift. A number of different ways that can be configured as well. As well as that, we've got the reporting system, like I showed you before. We've got a client reporting raw data system. This means that any field in the system can be reported on. And you can get certain things like their encounters exported from the system. And you can obviously save that, export that, anything you need to do, including fields that you have created in the system as well. So I'll just quickly touch on the configuration. So this is something the administrators can do on their side. But basically, you can select certain information that the volunteer sees, and then you can select certain reporting fields. This can be as many or as little as you need in the system. But obviously, you can select what the volunteer will answer. And then you can see this required. So basically, you can select if that is mandatory, which means the volunteer won't be able to submit until that field is complete. That might be an incident field, for example. So making sure that all incidents are filled in, including no incidents as well. So that can be drop downs, that can be short text, that can be a number field. Whatever you need to do reports on in the future, you can also select those fields and you can create them yourself in the system as well. I'll just show you quickly a client's profile. So this client profile here, you can obviously edit the contact information if you need to. We've got what we call custom fields. This is really customizable in the system. Custom fields can be anything that you want to add to their profile or anything you want the volunteer to add as information. So as you can see, it can be drop downs. You can add approval steps. You can add information into their profile as well. That can be added at any time. You can communicate with that client as well, directly from their profile. You can do some reports as well on their information. Then in the connections tab, you can also do certain notes. So this would be a note for the volunteer. So this might be confidential information that you only want the volunteer to be able to see about that client. You can connect certain clients to the certain volunteers to the client or certain clients to the volunteer, and you can see how many hours have been done with that volunteer or with that activity as well. You can also see certain hours and feedback or encounters. So basically in the profile, it will have all the information that the volunteer has filled in about that client. So it's all in one, it's all saved on the profile. And individually, you can see these encounters or you can see them in bulk for all those clients as well. So as you can see, quite a detailed administration page. Obviously, one of the things we do focus on is the privacy. We don't want anyone to see the client information who don't need to. So only those volunteers will see that as well. Now, bear with me for a second as I log into the volunteers view. So Victoria Smith, this is an example volunteer who is connected to a client. So this majority of the time will be logged in through an app, and through the App Store or the Play Store, which is called My Impact. Once they log in, they'll see their front page here. You'll have certain things like the social media, some image galleries, and also what is quite popular at the moment is the badges. So these can be certain things like anniversary, number of hours they've done. It could also be certain training, can be certain things that they're a mealtime assistant. So this can actually be created in the system, and volunteers can obtain these badges if they've done the certain things that you've created. You can also have a personal message for that volunteer and a news letter as well. Then you can also attach certain files. It might be a manual, photo release form, anything you need to provide that volunteer can be done here. They'll see their opportunities list. So this can be in a calendar or a list view. So basically all the activities they'll be able to click on, and then they can sign up, add themselves to the backup list, a number of different things they can do to sign up. As you can see here, a bunch of different shifts will be created. They can bulk sign up, or they can do that individually as well. So that can be configured if you want that to be volunteers expressing interest, or volunteers basically just assigning themselves to that shift. Now they can obviously see their schedule. They can get a nice calendar view of the upcoming schedule as well. What they can do is also connect their personal calendar, so Google, Yahoo, Outlook, to the portal. So if admins do assign them to new shifts, or if there's any changes to their shifts, they'll get a notification directly to their phone. And it's definitely a good way to directly communicate with them without having to do anything from the software. That connection's already made there. So this is the important parts with the clients. You've got your hours logs, or you've got your encounters, the connections here. So you can basically select a client that you're connected to. You can add an encounter date, and then you can answer the questions that you've configured as an admin in the system. So as you can see, there's a couple with the flag there, which means they're mandatory. Obviously, you can have as many questions or as little as you need in the system. And obviously, these will be used for reporting in the future as well. So once that's saved, the volunteer will be able to see their past connections they've done, and a little bit of information as well. So that's all for that demo there. Basically, that is a kind of a quick overview of the admin and volunteer side. So if any questions about the demo comes up, happy to answer them at the end. I'm sure everybody's got a couple of questions about that. Now I'm just going to move into some testimonials. So this is current clients, current organizations that are using the client module, and they've got a little bit of feedback on what they find is the best parts of that system.
It allows restricted access for our managers. So it basically means that we can set what each of our managers can see, which volunteers they have access to, and also what they can do on the record. So they might be able to view it and not edit it, things like that. Their application then becomes their database record, which is amazing. It means we didn't have to input anything, and we can attach documents to their records, monitor qualifications, expiry dates. It's all in one place, which is amazing for us.
We can just go into the system and actually choose that option that Cam was referring to, where we associate the client to the volunteer, and then the volunteer is able to access a limited amount of information in a notes for volunteer section. That's really helpful too, and that really alleviated a lot of work in terms of paper sheets that we were giving to volunteers and tracking it in binders, and all that information is at my fingertips. I don't have to contact the volunteers and ask them to bring in their sheets so that I can look them over. I can just go into the client's profile and see that the note that the volunteer has logged.
It's super simple from the volunteer side. We wanted something that was going to be easy to roll out to our volunteers, knowing that they weren't really going to like change anyway, and that we would also be able to use that was easy for us on our end. Client impact, we needed to find something that was HIPAA compliant, because you were talking about confidentiality and security. For us, it's all about HIPAA. Anything that would be good for the volunteer to put in there, there's a section that when you assign a client to a volunteer, that's a set of notes that they can see, the volunteer can see. That's been really helpful for them as well.
One of the big concerns was security. Our finance director was like, HIPAA compliant, it's got to be, and I was like, it is, look, it is. The ability to customize has been absolutely phenomenal for us. That's been one of my main jobs, was to go through and look at all the different kinds of forms that we used to collect data, and then tailor better impact for that. It's just wonderful that you can input that piece of data and it can be used at any one of those sub accounts, or not be seen, or it can be seen by some people and not by others. So I love that it's so customizable and easy to use. So Better Impact are really helpful, and they offer an opportunity to improve the system dependent upon good ideas from customers. So that's good. So it's very tailorable. You can have people just accessing a certain part or all of it, depending. And reports run directly from finance, reducing time in staff creating reports. I've got to say, love that. And our finance department are loving it too.
Awesome. So as you can see, a number of different things, people have their favorite part of the software. And we understand every organization is different. So some things may be really relevant and others won't. But as you can see, there's a number of different parts of that that people really enjoy. Just to continue on that as well, so we do have some amazing reviews from our current clients. So just some perspective on that. On the Trustpilot, we have a 4.9 out of 5, and that's over 300 reviews. So 315 reviews at the moment. We've got an average of 4.9. So that's definitely comes from certain things like our support, obviously meets requirements, and certain things that we do in the system. A few comments has been a game changer, speedy, top-notch support. So we do have the benefit of having the US and Canada on the other side of the world. That basically means that we're available 24/7, 5.5 days a week, thanks to the other side of the globe and the different time zones. So a little bit of a background of our story. Better Impact actually started by a fluke. The CEO, Tony's passion project of building a web-based volunteer management software solution started for a residential hospice. He founded, birthed the beginning of the global We're Here to Help Better Impact company. So we're actually a 20-plus-year-old company. We're a smaller company, but we have a global impact. We have offices in UK, Canada, US, and Australia. We've got customers all around the globe. We specialize in volunteer management software, volunteer impact and client impact. We also provide donor, client, and member solutions that integrate with volunteer impact as well. And we're very much we're here to help company that prioritizes the client support. We'll never charge you for support in the system. As I said, 24/7, 5.5 days a week, we provide that support via our chat room. And we can always organize a phone call or a Zoom call if certain things are a little bit more complicated as well.